So your interest in folklore then, where did all this start? It's a lifelong obsession.
It's one of them. It's all tied in with all my reading and research on the landscape, history, the geology even, you know, it all comes together because people used to explain the landscape using stories. You know, before the advent of popular science, you know, you'd say, well, why is that hill there? Why is that strange looking hill there? And you'd be told, a giant put it there. And so I got as I sort of dug deeper into the landscape and the history of the landscape and the stories around it, these folk tales started coming out. And they fascinated me, you know, because it's a way that people all around the world use to teach their children about how the landscape's formed. And the stories can also warn of dangers such as, you know, peg powler in the river. You know, don't go too near the river because peg powler will reach out and grab you and drag you under.
The spirit of the Tees.
Yeah. So there's a wealth of information in some of the folklore. Others are just pure fantasy.
Yeah.
You know, because stories always get better in the telling and have perhaps lost their meaning over the years. But it's just a really interesting aspect of it, of what goes on around here. And I also believe that it's important to keep these stories alive, because with the advent of the modern world, really, they're becoming lost. And that was recognised a couple of 100 years ago. People started realising that these stories were disappearing and collecting them. But those collections are now in dusty books, in libraries, and perhaps may not be passed on. You know, so I'm trying in my own little way to keep this tradition alive.
One person that really tried his best to preserve some of these stories is very closely linked to this very building, and it's Canon John Atkinson. I'm going to produce from my secret hiding place here Canon Atkinson's book, which is called 40 Years in a Moorland Parish. I'm going to be dead careful with this because it's Gavin's copy. Should I hand this over to you?
Oh, right, yeah.
And it ceases to be my responsibility. So Canon Atkinson was the rector of this very church.
He was, yeah. He was born down in Essex in 1814. Clever bloke. His dad was a vicar. Then he went to Cambridge, did his degree.
Yeah.
Once he left Cambridge, he took holy orders, became a vicar. Worked in a couple of places, including Scarborough, and then Lord Down, who was the big landowner around here, gave him, I think it was called a perpetual curacy. Gave him a perpetual curacy.
Well done.
I think that's the word. Here. So he spent the rest of his life here. And he died in 1900, so he lived a good age. He was 86 when he died.
Yeah.
He wrote 24 books. He published loads of articles for journals and newspapers and things like that. The books he wrote ranged from natural history. He wrote books on British birds and eggs and nests and things. So natural history, local history, folklore, etymology. He was prolific. He also managed to marry 3 times and he had 14 kids.
Wow.
So he was a busy lad.
Was that allowed of a vicar in the 19th century?
Well, they had no telly, Bob, you know.
He didn't have YouTube.
So yeah, I mean, the guy, he was bright as a button. He walked everywhere, so he was fit as a lop.
Yeah.
Probably why he lived till he was 84. But he was well loved by the people around here, and they gave him the name the Moorland Scholar. You know, because I don't think anybody actually contributed as much to the knowledge at the time of this little corner of Yorkshire than he did.
There's a really telling bit in 40 Years in a Moorland Parish where I think he bemoans the fact, and he says every week a new newspaper, a new circular appears in the parish. And he's kind of bemoaning the fact that this is wiping out the old stories, that people are not telling these old folk stories anymore because they're reading of things that are happening elsewhere in the country, and there's maybe like an age of rationalism is almost coming in.
Definitely,
And so he sort of saw it as his mission, even though, you know, he was a rationalist himself and he was a Christian. So he wouldn't have believed in the veracity of these stories, I guess. But he took it upon himself to preserve them and to write them down because he could see that they weren't being told as much as they had been.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously he had his Christian faith.
Yeah.
But he also had that respect for the people he lived with. So he didn't, when he wrote about it, he didn't belittle them for their beliefs. He recorded them, but he portrayed people in a very sort of humanistic way.
Yeah.
You know, and you can see why his parishioners loved him. Right, directions to locate the grave of Canon Atkinson. When exiting the church porch, turn immediately to the right and walk 30 paces directly to the west onto the grass, passing between 5 rows north-south of old gravestones to the 6th row. Canon Atkinson's grave can be found directly to your left.
Right, let's do this, because last time I came here, I think I had those exact same directions and couldn't find it anywhere. But I suppose it depends how long your pace is, doesn't it? 30 paces, that's completely imprecise.
He said 5, 6 rows.
Right,
so
okay.
it is 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a John. It looks like that one over there. It's that style, so
Okay.
that might be it.
Which one?
The which one? The gravestone.
The gravestone.
It looks like one of these.
I don't think it is,
It's probably one of these a little further along.
but it looks like that.
Yeah, it looks like that. It's not those, is it?
See, this is what happened last time we did this. What about that one?
That's a Fred.
How is this so difficult? Should we go back and do our 30 paces again?
Yeah.
I just think we could wander around here all day, which is pretty much what I did last time.
I bet it's that one there, you know.
It is as well, it is.
John Christopher Atkinson, Canon of York.
Fantastic. How did we not find that? 58 years, Vicar of Danby, born 9th of May 1814, entered into rest 31st of March 1900. We've got an inscription as well
Oh yeah.
on this side. Can you make that out? Are your glasses better than mine?
Nevertheless, he left not himself without witness.
Okay. What does that mean?
I haven't a clue, mate.
He left not himself without witness.
Yeah.
Does that mean he wasn't alone when he died?
Oh, I don't know.
Or does that mean he made an impression?
I guess he left his mark, didn't he?
Yeah. And he certainly did.
Yeah.